It just felt right to me to do one more as a send-off. It'll be my last 2Mad video for 2 years later, because, you know, 2Mad in 2 years. This video is going to be unscripted with not much editing, so there's going to be a lot more stutters and maybe some mumbles occasionally, but I just want to be a lot more open and honest than just reading from, you know, my own script. I'll show some old 2Mad Overwatch gameplay in the background and flash some images if I ever want to like give you some context on something, but yeah, let's just start this off. One of the main criticisms in my 2Mad video, as well as some other 2Mad videos I guess, was whether or not we should make a video on him. Should we really pay our respects to someone that has done terrible things? And I mean, for me, I'm like, in my own personal opinion, I think the way I framed my video was less of missing 2Mad now, as opposed to missing 2Mad as what he was before, if that makes sense. Like, I loved his videos from like 2019 to like 2021 or around that time, because you could tell he was just having fun with it. He was just making videos for the fun of it, to make people happy. But past that point, like around 2023, like the quality of his content just declined like really quickly, and 2Mad was just making the most random videos sometimes, or just, you know, responding to drama but not as seriously. In my own personal opinion of 2Mad, I really miss the old 2Mad, I guess. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really disgusted with like what he's done like before his death, you know what I mean? He very much fell down a really bad spiral, but I can't say I hold any like really like anger or rage. It's more just like disappointment that like he could have just done so much better, but he also didn't, and now he's just gone, and that's just how it's always gonna be. So I can understand if you hate 2Mad. I don't like think you're wrong or anything, but I guess for my video, I was just disappointed and a little sad that someone who could have been great on YouTube just passed away. And that's just how it is. His old content actually inspired me to make videos, although they weren't really like these kinds of videos. They were a lot more just shit posts and random funny things. But I like the idea of just making fun videos to make other people laugh, you know. I like 2Mad's idea of just making people's day, and I wanted to do the same thing. So the whole video was just a way for me to give my flowers to someone that inspired me to make videos. I don't want to repeat this too much, but I just really want to make this obvious. I'm talking about like old 2Mad, as in 2Mad from like maybe even like 2018 to like 2021, like during that time of 2Mad, not anything he's done past that point, because obviously he did some really terrible stuff. He was a very different person at that time. I really respected the younger and more ambitious 2Mad than the 2Mad he became later. Another thing I want to mention was I never actually like talked about 2Mad being in SMP Live, which was a pretty big thing that also helped him get more popular and talk with like Call Me Carson and that other girl, that whole drama thing. I don't remember it. Just show the fucking picture. I never mentioned any of that in my video, and that's because I never actually watched the SMP Live or kept up to date with the drama, so I didn't really care. It does feel kind of weird to me how much like influence 2Mad had, and now he's just gone, and it's been 2 years and no one really talks about him, which makes sense, I guess. You know, things come and go online, but is there something sad about just knowing that 2Mad's lost bit of like online influence or presence was just people trashing on him for the way he died? And then the Jamesky drama, which I showed in my video, like most of that wasn't even true, and yet people still believed it and hated 2Mad for it. And I guess for my own video, it was kind of my way of telling people, hey, you can hate 2Mad, I totally get it, but these things aren't actually true. I didn't even like him when he made those like trashy ass videos, but I was still like very sad and disappointed that he couldn't have gotten the help he needed to get back on track and be who he was before. I don't think my video was entirely serious, but I took some parts a little more like seriously than the rest, obviously, because we're dealing with someone that has passed away, and I just really didn't like the idea that everyone talking about 2Mad's death was just memeing on him or just joking around or just making the worst jokes. Dude, his little brother could see the stuff people were making on 2Mad. You know how fucking bad that is to just see as like a little brother? You just see your older brother pass away from drugs, and all people are online doing are just clowning on him. Like, that's really fucking depressing and sad. So I guess I made my own video as a way to give a little more respect to 2Mad. Not saying you have to like him or anything, but just, you know, remember that that was a person that passed away and not just some joke. Another complaint I got in my video was people telling me like that I was weird for using 2Mad for money, which I just want to get this out of the way. When I made that video and when it blew up, I made no money from that video. All of that was just like gone to the void, or to whoever like copyright striked my video, because I used their music. I didn't earn a single cent from the video, and I did not care at all, because Obviously, I like 2Mad. I would have made a video on him regardless. It started making money a few months later, but that's only because I turned 18 and I went through the whole process of making money on YouTube. But even then, if I couldn't make money off the 2Mad video, I would have been completely fine with that. I don't really care about the money. I obviously need money so I can live, but to me, like when I make these videos, I just do it out of like pure passion, you know what I mean? I really care about the subject and I just want to tell more people about it. And that's always been my mindset for the 2Mad video. I just like 2Mad and what he was, what he used to be, and how much he inspired me. If money wasn't a concern of mine, then I still would have made the 2Mad video. I mean, shit, I couldn't make money anyways. I didn't care. I just wanted to make the video about 2Mad. It was also a huge 180 from the content I used to make. Please don't watch my older videos. But I didn't really care too much. I've really enjoyed making video essays and just talking about things I'm passionate about. The research process for the video wasn't anything too intense. I just watched a lot of 2Mad's older videos and I don't know, it kind of gave me a bit of nostalgia for me when I was younger and I used to watch it in high school. I think I shared a bit of a sentiment on that at the end of the 2Mad video. But I really hate that video when I look back on it now. There's so many... it feels really cringy to look back on, and that's like my most popular video too. I gotta make something better. There's this one video about 2Mad that I always go back on. It was this one he released on his 2Mad Gang channel called like, what's it like being a YouTuber when you're like so young or whatever. I forgot the actual title, but it was just a really nice video of 2Mad talking about how he got to where he is, and I don't know, he just seemed so happy or motivated. It felt like after he did that, there was nothing else 2Mad could do. He just had that kind of like passion in his heart to do whatever he wanted on this whole YouTube thing, because everything he tried to do to get to where he was, you know, it eventually worked out at the end. His story was like very inspiring, I guess, to me, about how far he got, even though he was just some, you know, just some kid on the computer making dumb videos. And I was a kid on the computer making dumb videos because he was making dumb videos. They weren't really dumb, I guess. They were fun. They were entertaining. They made people laugh. They did what they needed to do. I think the thing that sucks the most about 2Mad was that you could kind of see, like, whenever things got serious with him, whether it's YouTube or life, you could kind of see him close up. And I don't mean close up as in he gets quiet. He probably gets louder when he closes up because he's just repressing all of his actual emotions and treating things as a joke and just hoping things pass by, because that's kind of how he was with the Goldie Bell drama, and then some drama off of that. But obviously it didn't work out for him. He really needed to just confront the issues that were given to him and not treating everything as a joke. But I think just him treating everything as a joke was just his main coping mechanism to anything he received in life. I know 2Mad was in an abusive household, and although I can't say this for certainty, there is like a slight chance that, you know, when people are in abusive households, they kind of disassociate, because even though they can't get away from the trauma they're going through right now in their home, they can kind of do it mentally and pretend nothing is wrong through their head, so that things can just pass by without anything like actually affecting them. They just sit and wait and hope that it just goes away. It sucks that 2Mad never got the help he needed to, you know, break that cycle of trauma, instead of just continue it as he, you know, got older and until he passed away. I remember reading about other people talking about 2Mad when he was like popular around 2020, and how he was actually like pretty shy and quiet in real life. He wasn't super loud or extroverted, which surprised a lot of people, but it always made sense to me. He wasn't actually someone that had like a lot of friends, which sounds really bad, but I do remember like he used to tell people in high school he never really made any close friends. He kind of just showed up, did whatever he wanted, and went home and made videos. It was always just that dilemma with 2Mad on whether or not he'd be serious and open up, or just treat things as a joke and hope things go by. Because I mean, like with videos like the Keemstar rant when he talked about Etika, he was so like dead serious in that video. No music or anything. He was just talking. He was just talking his shit. And that's kind of why I liked 2Mad at that time. He made joke videos and stuff like that, but he knew when to get serious when things were serious. He knew where to draw that line. Also, some people were kind of mixed when I was like not really comparing 2Mad and Etika, but just saying how like 2Mad wanted to be like Etika. I just want to make this clear. Like, I don't think 2Mad and Etika's situations were like super similar or anything like that. They're completely different things that happened for completely different reasons. I was just highlighting that 2Mad wanted to be Etika. That was another like serious thing about 2Mad, that he didn't like treat as a joke. He actually wanted to be just like Etika and be like some happy guy that made people laugh, that made people's day. Like that meant something to him, and I just wanted to highlight that to let people know, you know, 2Mad did have like role models or people that he looked up to in life. Even the Cold Ones podcast was really nice to look back on, because yeah, Too Mad was kind of memeing and they could barely get through the questions, but there was definitely some moments where he was like saying something actually serious. He wasn't like joking or anything like that with the Atticus situation, and kind of with his dad's friend that helped him out with YouTube. That was also very interesting to research because I couldn't really find who Too Mad is talking about. Like, I can't find any online presence of him or anything like that. I just know him because of Too Mad's anecdotes about him. I remember they were talking about living with Too Mad in Australia, Anything for Views and Max Mofo. They were just talking about how like he was a pretty smart kid but didn't really have much life experience and always fumbled some things. Like, he wasn't actually an asshole or anything like that, but he'd do things wrong unintentionally because no one's ever like really told him how to do things. It's another interesting insight about Too Mad with how he kind of doesn't know anything else but YouTube and just making funny videos. I guess when you watch his stuff, you could never really tell if he was like that in real life. I always just assumed that he did it for the camera and that in real life he was a lot more like quiet and reserved, which I mean he kind of was. I remember there's an Implement video talking about Twitter and talking about how to get like the blue check mark thing on it, because it's called X now, but I don't really care. But yeah, he was talking about that, and like one person he reached out to was Too Mad, and Too Mad like gave him an actual response talking about how he got like verified on Twitter. And I'm like, I look at that and I'm like, you know, he was a normal person. He talked to people, he knew how to speak and stuff like that. Yeah, he was like memeing sometimes, but he at least like got his point across. I don't know what point I'm trying to make with this. I think he knew how to turn on and off his YouTube persona so he could like be serious for once, but once he couldn't do that anymore, it kind of just fell off from there. I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not gonna diagnose him with anything. Too Mad is a very unique case, which I know a decent amount about Too Mad, but obviously I can't make any certain conclusions that like proves this is why he did these things. I can only just assume with the experience and information I've gotten from living. It wasn't too hard to do since he put a lot of things online, but I don't know. Seeing that video, my video about Too Mad, get so many views still as like time went on, feels so weird to me because like I look back at that video and I'm like, ugh, the editing could have been so much better. Like, it was my first video essay, so I fumbled at some parts, and like there's other like things where I didn't speak too well, and I was just like, what am I saying? What am I doing? Ugh. Another interesting thing I saw in my comment section was people talking about me saying Hotline Miami is niche. That started so many fucking like arguments in the comments about me calling Hotline Miami niche. I didn't think it'd be that serious. Like, I didn't really agree with what I was saying, but I was just thinking like, okay, in the grand scheme of gaming history, I don't think a lot of people know Hotline Miami, so I think it's fine if I call it like niche, or maybe like sort of niche, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be in that like area of like gaming to like figure out about Hotline Miami. I didn't think people would take it so seriously that I called it niche. I don't think it's super niche, but it's like, it's kind of niche, I guess. Like, not everyone knows about it, you know what I mean? But people like were really like peeved that I called it niche. Also, some people criticized, but others also complimented that the editing was kind of crazy. And I can get what you mean if you say like the video editing was kind of everywhere. I understand, it was my first video essay, but I just wanted to make it the most Too Mad video, but like sprinkle in like some amount of seriousness in it. I couldn't make it like stupid serious because we're talking about Too Mad here. We can crack a joke or two. It's just like, let's not go too far, you know what I mean? And I think that was kind of it for everything for that video. I remember in the comments I left saying like, this is like, I might not do this again, the whole video essay thing, because it was so out of left field for my channel to do a video essay, an hour-long video essay about Too Mad. But I was just like, I just had to make it, obviously, you know. I like Too Mad, you know. I already explained it before, I just like Too Mad and I wanted to make a video on him. Honestly, I kind of wish I worked on a couple of video essays before the Too Mad one, because a lot of people were like, damn, this is the only video essay you made? This was really good, man. What happened to the rest? And I'm like, look, I'm still making videos, okay? I'm still gonna make videos later on. I'm not completely stopping on these video essays, alright? I have other cool ones you can like watch if you want. I guess I didn't have any at the time, but now I do, so you can check those out. I think that was kind of it for my video. Maybe I could talk about the research process. I was really locked in for that video, I'm not even gonna lie. It took about 6 weeks, and that was like 6 weeks of like researching, editing, script writing, recording, and then like at the end just like, what do you even call it, the rendering process, like rendering the whole video out and like checking if there's any mistakes and then going back and editing and fixing it. I'm still genuinely impressed at myself for making a video in 6 weeks, because like this wasn't 6 weeks where I was spending every day on the video. I had school like 5 days a week for 6 hours a day. I couldn't just like stay home and work on the video. I remember I had to wake up like early in the morning, get ready, and then record the like some of the voice lines. And then when I got home from school, I had to get on the computer and edit those voice lines and put some pictures and images and whatever. And that was my whole process. Until I got to the weekends where I could actually do some proper editing. This was my final year of high school too, when like things actually got serious. So I was like studying on the side while also just thinking about my video and just being like, God, is this image good? Should I put that video clip in? Did my voice sound right there? Maybe I can record that, re-record that. I don't know. It was a very stressful process, but I'm glad I did it. It kind of told me how to edit my own videos well, even if like the videos after that, I didn't make much videos off of that. I kind of hit a brick wall. I didn't know what to make. And even then, just thinking about it, like when I first started high school, I was watching 2Mad, and now at the end of high school, I'm making a video on 2Mad. It just, I don't know, it felt right to me to make that video on 2Mad. But this is also going to be my last video on 2Mad, so I'm just getting out my final thoughts here before fully ending it, but that might be it. I really did look up to 2Mad when I was a kid. Just the way he edited, the way he was always just extroverted and funny. I wanted to be kind of like that. Although I do understand now that I can't do that, obviously. What sucks the most is that the two YouTubers I looked up to were 2Mad and Technoblade. And wow, that did not age well. Also, I just remember there was like another person 2Mad used to talk to called like Zoe or something like that. I remember there was like a podcast he tried to do with her, and there was also that clip of like him in her car breaking her window. I still have no idea who Zoe is. I should probably look up like more into her. But it was always weird to me how 2Mad was kind of like an incel, but he still hung around with other girls. But it wasn't like for any nefarious purposes or anything like that. He was just friends with them. It was always weird to me how he was friends with girls, but was also a creep to some other girls. I don't know. I don't get that, but whatever. I also remember 2Mad watched IShowSpeed get popular too. Like there was a video out there of him watching like IShowSpeed's Shake music video, and I always think about the two because 2Mad and IShowSpeed, they're not really like the same, but IShowSpeed also had that chaotic energy to him. But literally the thing that Speed did right was that he knew when to take things seriously and when things were a joke, which 2Mad couldn't do. And I guess Speed kind of had that because he actually had like a loving father figure in his life, unlike the things I've read about 2Mad's dad and what he did to him sometimes. I don't know, thinking about him now, it just makes me sad and also disappointed, I guess. Sad that like he's been through so much terrible things, but also just disappointed that he could have been, he had the opportunity to be better, but he didn't choose to be better. And that's like, it makes me maybe not angry, but just like, I don't know. It's out of your control. You couldn't really do anything. You just feel this sense of just like, you could have been so much better, man. I wish more people could understand that they have the choice to make their lives better, to go like out and talk to people and get out of their comfort zone. But I also understand how hard that can be sometimes. Like even I struggle with it when I'm doing my own thing on YouTube and not going outside and stuff like that. I'm not gonna end up like 2Mad. I can't say I'd go down that route. I'd probably stop myself way before any of that happens, but it's always a scary possibility to anyone that this could happen, maybe. That's probably gonna be it for this video. I just wanna wrap things up nice and smoothly for this 2Mad 2 years later. Try to learn from his mistakes and don't forget to go outside and understand that you have people that love and care about you. God, this is really serious. Alright, anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up now. Thank you for watching. Peace.